In this training movie, we're going to show you how to place borders around a driveway. First of all, borders come from the Borders library. You can pick any border that you want, but in this example, we're going to use this one here. So you select the border out of the library. Then you colorize it by using the color fill, which if you don't know how to do that, make sure you watch the training movie on the fill wand procedure. So we're going to start with this border that's already filled in with color. So if I'm going to place this border along the bottom of this driveway here, I'm going to size the border down first to get an idea of how many I'm going to need. And I'll just lay these up here, kind of eyeballing it with the driveway. Now I'll need more than one of these borders, so I'm going to duplicate it by using the replicate icon. So we click on the replicate icon. You notice that your cursor turns into two dots with an arrow, and every time you click down, you're going to have another border. So I think it's going to take about 4 of these. To stop the replication process, you right click. Then what you want to do is line all these borders up by simply clicking on them and dragging them till you get them lined up. Once they're lined up, you want to select all of them by simply clicking and dragging across all of them. They're all selected. Then you want to group them together as a group. So to do that, you go up to Object and click on Group Objects, or you could use the keyboard shortcut Control G. So now we have them as a group. If I pick on one of them, I've got all of them. So in a matter of seconds, I've created a long border. Now because I'm going to be placing this border along the side of the driveway also, I know I'm going to need more of them. So I'm going to set this one up here in the sky, and then again I'll go up to Replicate, click down so that I have another border. Again, right click to stop the replication process. I'll bring this down here to the driveway, and now I want to warp this border. So I go up to the Warp tool. I'll make sure that Free is selected and take the handles and line them up with the edge of the driveway. So let's move this one over here. And as you can see, in a matter of seconds, I have this border at the bottom of the driveway. And again, depending on the size that you want it to be, I'm not really sure how big these borders are, but you can adjust the size by clicking and dragging on the perspective handles. Once you have the perspective set, you simply click OK to exit the warp menu. So now I need another border to go down the side of the driveway. So I'll click on the border up in the sky, I go to Replicate, I click down again to get another border, I right click to cancel the replication. Now logically you might think you need to rotate this border in order to place it going down the side of the driveway because it's going across the screen and you want to go up and down the screen. You don't really need to do the rotate, and if you did, it will mess it up. I will show you that later, but trust me on this one, all you have to do again is use the Warp tool. So we'll go here to Warp, make sure that Free is selected. So I'm going to drag this handle down here because that's where I want to start it. I'll bring the other handle down here, and then I can bring this one over to the edge of the driveway and bring that over, and you can see in a matter of seconds I didn't need to rotate it. I'm able to adjust its direction by using the perspective handles in the Warp tool. So now I'll click OK to exit the Warp tool. And at this point you want to go in and trim that off by using the Eraser tool. So we'll go up here to Erase. So now once you've brought up the Eraser tool, if you go in here to erase the tip down here that's covering the other border, it's not erasing. And the reason is because this border is made up of 4 different objects that are grouped together. You can only erase on one of the objects unless you ungroup it. So I would actually be able to erase on the tip down here because I can see that that's where the square is. So if this happens to you, and it probably will, what you'll need to do is exit the Eraser menu, go up to Objects, and click on Ungroup Objects, or you could use the keyboard shortcut Control U. Now they're all separate, and the one I want to cut is the one on the end, so I just select on it. Then I go to the eraser, and now I can simply erase that. Then when you're done, you simply click OK to exit the eraser. So now we want to place this last border on the side over here. And this time I'm going to show you what happens if you go in and rotate an object. So let's place the border over here. Now we want to rotate it. We'll go here to Rotate, and we'll rotate this so that it's heading in the right direction. Right click to cancel the rotate, and we'll put it over here in position. Now we want to warp it. So we go here to Warp, make sure our handles are set to Free, and we'll just pick up our handles and move them, just like we did if we did not rotate it. So now I want to grab the handles up at the top, but I rotated them off the screen. So now I got to zoom out by pressing F9, grab these handles and bring them down. Now I want to zoom back in by pressing F10. And now that we're zoomed in, let's see what we got here. And now we just line this guy up. But you see, actually rotating it didn't save any time. It actually, in my opinion, is a little bit harder because it went off the screen. And that's going to happen to you when you have a long, large object that you're placing in there. It just saves that step. You don't have to go into rotate. You could just move those perspective handles and put it into place. So now we've got the border going around this driveway. So now let's quickly finish this driveway up. First of all, I put the borders on first. You don't always put the borders in first, but it really doesn't matter, and you'll see why here in a second. So also there is a shadow here, and I want to recreate that shadow before I place the pattern and color on this driveway. So to do that, I need to trace the shadow. So I'm going to go over the border here, and I'm just redrawing the shadow that's already there in the picture. I click OK, then I'll go up to Tools, and I'll click Create Shadow. Now I'll go back in my Define Area tools, and I'm going to define the driveway here. Then I'll go into Engrave and Create Designs. We'll pick a light color here, and then we'll adjust the perspective. I want to make sure that's free so we can line these up. So now I've got the driveway texture on top of the borders, but because everything is a layer, I can simply put it behind the shadow and the borders by going up here to Tools and clicking on Send to Back. And as you can see now, the border appears and the shadow that we have there.